All right, Jeremy Miner, we are live today. Now, today is my last day in southern France. I am in Marseille, France. Had to do some work over here in Paris and Marseille, and leaving tomorrow morning. My flight leaves at 6 a.m. Freakishly crazy. What time is it right now? Geez, it is late here in France. So what I wanted to do, and by the next week, I'm going to be in Warsaw, Poland. I'm going to go to Warsaw, Poland for a little R&R time. I will go live 1 to 2 times next week, though. So I will go live on Tuesday next week, maybe even Wednesday or Thursday next week as well. Actually, I am going to go live Tuesday and Wednesday next week. So make sure you look out for those lives, all right? Now, you're going to have to forgive me here because on yesterday's live, I promised I would do like an hour Q&A, but alas, I want to go out and actually have dinner in this really nice town and not have to work all day. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to answer some questions that we've seen pretty regularly in comments on like YouTube, LinkedIn, our Facebook groups, our IG, TikTok, all those different platforms, different questions that people ask, not necessarily like, what do I say if the prospect says this? Or, what's the best way to cold call? Or, how do I get the prospect to let their guard down? Or, how do I close more effectively? Or how do I use solution awareness questions? Or whatever the questions are, those are tactical training questions. And we do all that in our virtual training courses for clients in your industry, really 158 different industries at this point. So what I want to do today, though, is I wanted to go over the top 5 attributes of top 1% earning salespeople, because it's not just skill level. Skill level is most of that. I will tell you that, but it's how to use the skill level and how to gain that skill level. So I wrote down from my years of experience, a 17-year sales career before I retired back in 2017. I think we started a 7th level late 2018, something like that. So 4.5 years ago. So I'm going to give you my experience from what I did to become not just a top 1% earner, but I became a top 0.001% earner. Does that make sense? So a top 1% earner in sales would probably make $250,000, $300,000 a year in commissions, which is really good. Well, I'd say probably $350,000 to $400,000 a year now to be a top 1%er. I'd say $400,000, give or take. I was making almost $3 million every year in sales commissions, either as a 1099 rep or a W-2 rep with some companies, okay? Now, I'm going to show you the top 5 attributes that I practiced daily. And I'm going to show you the top 5 attributes that our clients who are now top 1% earners in their respective industries are doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to get those results. I want you to grab a pen and a piece of paper. This is going to be a training that not only obviously do you need the skill level, the sales ability to do that, which is all learnable, but there's going to be some ins and outs that you might not be thinking that you might not even thought you needed to possess that you really do need to possess. So number 1, so the first trait that I noticed from myself and other salespeople that were in the top 1% is I always would say you have to resign from the company club. So write that down, resign from the company club. Now, if you're brand, let's do this because I know we're going live here in the Facebook group Sales Revolution. There's about 73,000 of you in there. We're going live in the Facebook business page. I think there's like 128,000 of you in there. That's growing fast. We're also going live on our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and my personal Facebook for this live, okay? So if you're brand new to just follow me, my name is Jeremy Miner. Like, who is this guy working out of a hotel room here in Marseille? My name is Jeremy Miner. I'm the founder of 7th Level. Now, 7th Level is a sales training organization to train salespeople exactly like you watching me in this shirt. So we train salespeople like you, sales professionals like you, sales executives like you, coaches, consultants, entrepreneurs, business owners, and we train you and your teams how to use certain, I would say specific questions and techniques that work with human behavior rather than work against it. And that's a whole nother training in itself. Okay, now that's called NEPQ. It stands for Neuro Emotional Persuasion Questioning. That comes from my background in school in behavioral science and human psychology, and obviously my 17-year sales career before I retired. Okay, now not only do we have to teach you the right questions to ask at the right time, but also the delivery of the questions. How to use your tone, your tonality, to influence your prospects to let their guard down, open up, go below the surface, and tell you what's really going on. We call that disarming. Always be disarming. All right. So we're going to talk about that in different trainings. Like I said, if you're one of our clients, these lives, as you know, if you're one of our clients, are like 0.000001% of the training that you go through in our virtual training portals and our group training by our sales trainers and myself. Now, if you're a sales professional and you've been watching me for a while and you just keep watching the reels, hoping and praying that you're going to make 3 times more than what you are, message me directly right now. Some of the biggest companies in the world trust their organizations to us. A few of them, you heard of ExxonMobil. We're training their VPs now all over the United States, just a big virtual training for them. Google AdWords, you train 3 of their huge divisions. I could go on and on and on with different clients. Okay, those are big companies. There's a reason why they come to us to solve those type of problems. So if you're a salesperson and you want to solve those problems, you want to sell a lot more than you are right now, and you don't want to have to kill yourself to do that. Because anytime a sales trainer says, look, work harder, call more leads, it's a numbers game, call as many people as you can get to so you can get more no's, so you get that yes, all they're subliminally telling you is what they're training you doesn't really work that well. It's going to trigger a lot of sales resistance. So you're unfortunately going to play the numbers game because you're pushing so many people away by the way you're communicating. It turns people off. So unfortunately, it will be a numbers game for you. How does that give you a competitive advantage against everybody else? You're just going to work harder. You're going to work 16 hours a day to make a 6-figure income. How long are you going to last being able to do that? Probably not long. So if you want to acquire the necessary skills to double or triple your results right now, I'm not kidding, and actually work less hours, because what we're going to train you is how to get the prospects to pull you in. We're going to train you how to get the prospects to do all the work. I'm not joking. We're going to train you how to get them to overcome their own objections. We're going to get you trained on how to get them to sell themselves, whereas you've been trained that you got to do all the work. You've got to do all the selling. You've got to do all the convincing. You got to do all the chasing. You got to overcome all their objections. You got to hustle, use your hustle muscle. I've heard that one before. And where has that gotten you? Well, you're capped where you're at right now. And you're probably working a ton of hours. If you want to continue that type of life, by all means you can. But when I was in sales, making $250,000 a month in commissions, I would have never done that, because I would have made a lot less money and worked a ton more hours. Okay. All right. The number one trait of top 1% earning salespeople, write this down, is they resign from the company club. Now, what do I mean by the company club? That means when salespeople, like if you work virtually and you know some salespeople on the team and they call you and they start complaining about the leads, or let's say you're back in the office now. Okay, been back in the office, call floor, you go to the break room, salespeople in there complaining about the leads, complaining about the bad manager, complaining about the bad comp plan, complaining about their prospects, saying that their prospects are all broke, saying that their prospects all have fear, saying that their product or service sucks. Where has that gotten you? Nowhere. You are who you associate yourself with. Never hang out with people who complain unless you want to be in their situation, because eventually you will be. I can assure you of that, okay? When I was in as a salesperson like you, if I ever heard a salesperson complain, I would literally slap them in the face. I'd be like, hey, do you want to learn how to sell more? You can ask me questions because I don't have time to hear that. And they'd be like, what? I'm like, yeah, you want to sell more? Ask me some questions on what I'm doing and why I'm making 10 times more per month. You do that, I'll hang out with you. But if you just want to complain about X, Y, Z and you know how your prospects are all broke, there's not much I can do for you, brother. Okay. So stay away from those people. Okay. You want to be contagious in the break room. When other salespeople call you, you want to show your leadership, show them and help them along the way. Don't hold back. Like when I was in sales, I taught everybody in my companies everything I knew, literally everything I knew. I didn't hold back, okay? Because I knew if I could increase the company's sales, I would get bigger perks. I would get promoted even more. I became a vice president of sales by the age of, I think it was 24, okay, in my company. That company later went on and sold to Blackstone for $2.2 billion, about 12 years later, okay? A little bit of change, moolah, right? It was a big part of that. Some would say, okay, the sales results since I wrote all the training for them, all right? But that helped me make more money. So you got to resign from the company club. Okay. Now, another thing, when I say resign from the company club, is you want to use what's called prospect time blocking. Now, some people call it different things. We always call it PTB, prospect time blocking. So from certain hours of the day, I always had marked off my calendar that I was prospecting. Okay. I would get maybe a couple of inbound leads a day, but for the most part, I was mainly calling outbound leads. Somebody who had put in their name, phone number, email, knew somebody was going to call, but they didn't know when or who their name was. That lead could have been a day old. It could have been a week or 2 weeks old. Okay. It could have been an age lead. Or I was cold calling. When I sold B2B, I did probably about 30% cold calling for about the first year until I built up a huge pipeline and I never had to cold call again. Okay. But I also did a lot of outbound leads, got a few inbound leads here and there, probably every other day in B2B as well. So the point is that I was always involved in income producing activities. When I got into the office, usually about 7:30 in the morning, from when I left, usually about 4:30, maybe 5. Sometimes I'd leave at 5:30 at night. I was always income producing activities. That is it. Okay. I would also suggest once you get up to about 25 to 30,000 a month in commissions, that you hire an assistant. Typically, a lot of companies, like even when I got up to probably like in my second job, when I was selling B2B, like debt relief services, when I got up to about 70 grand a month in commissions, they hired an assistant for me and they did all my data entry. They did everything, the CRM. I literally was income producing activities all the time. I had 3 times a day I would check my emails. Okay. I would check them right before I got in the office, maybe around 6:37 in the morning. I would check them then about 11:30 in the afternoon, about 30 minutes before I had my 15-minute lunch break. And then I would check them again at about 4:30 before I left the office, because I usually work to about 5:30. Okay. I only check my emails 3 times a day. That's it. I had the ringer off. If I ever got an email, I never looked at it until those times, unless my assistant would come in and she'd be like, hey, that company just signed the proposal, or they just got the agreement authorized, you're supposed to, you might want to call them, or, hey, that CEO had a really important question. You should you should call them back here in the next 2 hours. If it was an emergency, I would respond. Okay. If it wasn't, I was still prospecting, because as a straight commission salesperson, you don't get paid to answer emails unless they are sales related, right? You don't get paid to hang out with your buddies for 2 hours at lunch. You don't get paid to hang out with other complaining salespeople in the break room. You only get paid when you're selling. Okay. So focus on income producing activities. You focus 8 to 10 hours a day on income producing activities 5 days a week, you're going to make a lot more money than you're now. There was also with social media as well. Just with social media, what I would do is I would typically check that twice a day. That's it. I check it in the morning. I check it maybe around 3:30 in the afternoon as well. And that's it. Like, I didn't get on there and look at my mom's cats or my best friend went on a boating adventure. If I did that stuff, it was more at night, before I went to bed. Okay. Now, if you are using social media for lead generation, obviously that is different. Okay. Like if you're in the DMs on LinkedIn or Facebook or IG or, wherever you're at, whatever platform you're using, obviously if you're doing income producing activities, DMing potential prospects, then yes, focus on the DMs. Our account managers focus on our DMs as well. I mean, we have, I think we book like 4,000 sales calls per month. A lot of people see me on Reels and stuff like that, and they're like, hey, they want the training, right? They want different trainings from us. So they book in with our account managers. You can too if you want to sell more. Okay, so When you're meeting with other salespeople, ask them questions. Hey, I got this objection. How do you guys respond when the prospect says they want to do more research? Like, what would you say? And see what they say, because maybe what you're doing is not as good as the next guy to you who's outperforming you, especially if they're top producing reps. Ask them questions, probe, clarify. If you're outproducing everybody else, help other people. Like, look, here's the deal. You can always learn something from somebody. I am a sponge. All I do is want to learn. That's what keeps me going. I just want to learn everything, okay? Especially sales and persuasion. So even salespeople, like when I was making almost $3 million a year in commissions, I would ask reps how they would handle different objections or how they would start the call that even made $200,000 or $300,000 a year. Jeremy, why would you do that? You make 10 times more than them. Because sometimes they would give me an idea and I'm like, that's pretty good, but if I just relanguage this word and that word, and then I use more of a curious tone here because their tone is kind of anxious and flighty, I'm probably going to get a better response. And I would use it and it would make my numbers go up even more. So always ask questions to get better. Now, the second attribute that I've noticed from top 1% earning salespeople, and this was a huge attribute for me, is they are 100% committed. They're 100% committed to being the best. Let me repeat that. They are 100% committed to being the best. Now, a lot of that I attribute to my high school and college sports career. In high school, some would say I was pretty talented at football. I was all conference, all district, probably would have made all state my senior year, but I broke my thumb the first game. So I ended up paying like 3 games, still made all conference. I think honorable mention 3 games. I don't know how you did that. But pretty good at football. I used to be a lot stronger. It's pretty fast. I ran like a 4.5240, pretty fast for mid-Missouri at a small school. And I was really talented at baseball. In fact, I was pretty talented. I played college baseball, got several D1 offers, but I actually wanted to start my freshman year, so I played D2. But I was committed. See, I might not have been the most athletic person in the entire conference that I played in high school and college, but I can guarantee you I was more committed than anybody else. I showed up early. I worked out late. I worked out several hours more a day on my technique with the bat, with the way I would throw the ball from center field to different bases. Like I worked on my game, the technique continually. So I had the technique down like a madman. So are you 100% committed? Are you showing up daily? Okay. Do you get out of bed on time? Or do you just sit there for 30, 40 minutes, like staring off in space? Or, do you get drunk during the week or, drunk on the weekends and you're just a total mess when you come into work the next day? Or your weekends are shot. You can't even learn because you're hungover and you sleep until 10 or 11 or 12 every day, okay, during the weekend. Those things kill your sales. Okay. Success is just a choice. You just have to choose well. Okay. So what are your daily habits? My habits were really boring. In fact, I did the same thing every single day, but it was a boring routine that because I was so consistent in it, it was like a freaking factory. You want your sales process to be like a factory, not that you sound like a robot on the phone. Okay. But the step-by-step process works so well that it continually works. Like there would be weeks where I'd have down weeks and wouldn't have as many sales, but I knew the process worked. So the next week I knew I would make up for it. It would just happen. It always happened. I'd always even doubt myself sometimes by Friday. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I only made 4 sales, only made X, Y, a third of what I normally do for the week. And then the next week I'd make 5 times more. And I'm like, okay, I'm right back. Okay. So follow the process. Your habits. What are your habits? Okay. Your habits either lead to success or failure. So which habits do you choose to do? Okay. And what does discipline mean? How disciplined are you to wake up at, let's say 5 or 6 in the morning and practice, go through advanced sales training for an hour each day? How disciplined are you to do that? Or would you prefer just sleeping in? Well, which one is going to make you a lot more money? Okay. Look, here's my motto. If you want to be great, then you have to be willing to do what others are not willing to do. Let me repeat that. If you want to be a legend in sales, where your name, when you lead those industries, is still talked about 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, 20 years later, if you want to be a legend like that, you have to be willing to do what others are not willing to do, period. Okay? So take that to the bank. Put in the hours, learn advanced training, and you will out-earn everybody else, okay? In fact, when we have a lot of companies that come to us as well, and they ask us like, hey, what would you ask salespeople in interviews? And one of the biggest questions that we've taught employers to ask to flesh out sales pros from the amateurs is this, and it always works every time. The employer asks, how much money did you personally invest in acquiring advanced sales skills last year so you could sell more? How much money did you invest personally in sales training so you could sell more for the companies you work for? If they get an answer like, well, our company brought in the sales trainer one weekend and, I bought 2 books, so they spent a total of $40, they're probably not going to get hired. 99% of the time. That's not going to be a top 1% earning rep or somebody that will ever be that way. But if they're like, yeah, I bought a course for $2,000, I've been in advanced coaching with this sales training company for the past 6 months. I paid, $6,000 for that. I read a sales book every single month, and here's my results. Here's what I've made. Here's references. Who's going to get hired? I think you know the answer. So you got to be committed. Now, number 3, I digress. Number 3 is be prepared. Top 1% earning reps, huge attribute, is they're always prepared. How prepared are you for each sales call? And be realistic with me. How prepared are you for every single sales call that you're on? You get the same damn objections every single week, don't you? Are you prepared on every one of them yet? If you start off a call and you keep getting prospects like an outbound call, and you keep getting prospects that says like, oh, I'm not interested. Do you just hang up the phone and go to the next one? Or do you throw out a rebuttal, but it hardly ever works? Well, you got to learn what works, and you got to be prepared. Like if I ever got a new objection, because you know what it is, like not the standard, I want to think about it or talk with my spouse if you sell B2C, or I need to run this through the department head if you sell B2B, or I need to do more research or get more quotes, or none of those. Those are pretty standard in any industry. But sometimes you get an objection that you've never heard before. Like literally, I'd be in industry for 3 years and get an objection. I'm like, I've never heard that before. And I would do my best to help them overcome it. But if I couldn't, you know what I did? Or even if I did overcome it, I'm like, man, that was close. I was not prepared for that. So I would literally write out, okay, like I need to say this, I need to ask this. Oh yeah, this is going to work better. And when I got that objection the next time, maybe 2 or 3 months later, I was freaking prepared. And I don't lose sales, okay? Because I know if I don't make that sale, that prospect is not going to get their problem solved. They're probably going to stay in the status quo and nothing will ever change for them. And whose responsibility is that? Mine. Because I couldn't communicate to them properly, not theirs. I don't blame the prospect. I blame me. If you're a salesperson, you want to be a top 1% salesperson, if you don't make a sale, you don't blame the prospect. You always look at yourself. What did I say? What did I not ask? How did my tone come across? Did I trigger sales resistance? What did I do there? Did I sound needy and salesy? Did I lower my status? Once you look inwardly at yourself and improve your sales ability, it's easy. So you get the same objections. Are you rehearsing your lines? Are you working on your tonality? There's certain questions in your sales process that require more of a curious tone. John, can you walk me through? I'm not understanding what you meant by this. Or help me understand, I'm a little bit off. Or, John, you're on page 15. I'm still back on page 3. What did you mean when you said, see, that's a curious tone. There's other questions that require more of a skeptical or challenging tone. What are the consequences if you don't do anything about this? That's a skeptical tone. There's other questions where you need to lean in, put your hand on your chest, because it helps your body language communicates you're concerned, even if you're on the phone. You lean in. What's really holding you back from moving forward? John, can I ask you something? Sure, go ahead. What's really holding you back from moving forward so you can lock in your rate and lower your bill? Like if you sold solar, just give you an industry-specific example. See, when you put your hand on your chest, that communicates that you're concerned. If I did this, even with the same tone, it's not going to communicate that as much. Or if I put my hand on my chest with a concerned tone, that causes the prospect to feel like I'm concerned for them. It opens them up. It builds trust. All right. So rehearse your lines. All right. Number 4, it's a big one for me. Treat all of your prospects with respect. Never talk bad about a prospect, ever. I promise you it's not good karma, okay? Never talk down to a prospect, especially if you're talking to them in person or on the phone or on Zoom. Never talk down and be rude to a prospect if they don't buy, because that relationship is over forever, okay? You're always polite, okay? But you're always concerned. You always want to show them that you're concerned. How can I communicate to you that you might be making a mistake without you getting upset with me, John? Sure, what do you have in mind? See, I want to communicate that I'm concerned that they might be making a mistake by not going with me, okay? So you never talk down to a prospect if they don't buy, because it's over then at that point, okay? You don't want to sound like, oh, okay, get back to me. You want to remain your status. You want to act like you're concerned for them, but you'll have a lot of people that will come back to you later. So never talk down to them. Your number one red flag would be this: never work or do business with someone who talks down to others that are below their status. That's my number one rule. If I go to dinner with clients and they are extremely rude to the waiter or waitress because they feel that they're somehow have a higher status because they're wealthy, I never do business with that person, because I know that they might actually do that to me down the road. If they're going to treat other people with disrespect, why would they not treat me with disrespect if things don't work out? Okay? So I never work with people who talk down to other people below their status, who they believe are below their status. Always follow that rule, I promise you. Okay? And number 5, this is the most important part. Top 1% earners invest daily in their sales ability. They invest daily in their sales ability. They purchase advanced training. They go to seminars. They don't just read books. Books are an overview. Like, buy our book. It's great. It's $17, but you're only going to retain 5% of that after you read it the first time. You read it the second time, you retain 7 to 8%. It's just the way the human brain works. You're not going to learn advanced body language, advanced tonality in there, which is 73% of the sale. Because you can't teach you that in a book. You can't hear my tone in a book, right? Okay. And a book is an overview. All right. So you want to go through advanced courses, like our advanced NAPQ 3.0 course, 43 hours long. Okay. 5 training calls a week, live and recorded, archived. You can get on them anytime you want with our trainers and myself. 6 months. You do that for 6 months, you'll make 5 times more than what you are. I'm just going off our testimonials, over 15,000 at this point in the last 2.5 years. What other sales training company can say that? Even companies that have been around for 30 or 40 years. Nobody. Okay. So put in your brain daily that you want to learn more. Top performers, I always say this, they thirst for knowledge. I still thirst for knowledge. You know what I listen to when I'm driving around in my car? Sales training, persuasion, influence. That's it. Still don't listen to the radio. Brian Tracy taught me this one unique thing. I went to his seminar of his. It's my very first seminar that I ever went to for sales training. I was 21, almost. I think I just turned 22, still in college. It was a couple months after I got my first job. And Brian said, use your vehicle as a university on wheels. So from that day forward, I didn't listen to the radio. I very rarely listen to the radio. If I do, it's maybe classical, because that keeps me calm, keeps me focused on what I'm thinking, okay? Look, we're always at 7th level, we're playing chess. A lot of other companies in our space are still playing checkers, okay? So I need to keep my mind right, all right? So I need to listen to music that it's not cussing and weird lyrics and stupid stuff like that, okay? How much is your political talk shows that you watch every night on TV or that you listen into your car when you drive to work making you every month? 0. So imagine if you put that time into advanced sales training every day. If you drive 30 minutes a day, whether it's to the grocery store, your church, to see friends, to work out at the gym, to go to work, to go back, wherever you're at, imagine if all that time you were driving, you were listening to advanced training for sales, persuasion, influence, how good you'd be in 30 days. Or 60 days, or 90 days, or a year, or 5 years. I mean, you'd be absolutely unstoppable. People always wonder, like, Jeremy, why were you so good at sales? Why did you outsell everybody else in all 4 of your industries you're in? I was in 2 B2C, business to consumer, 2 B2B, business to business. How did I get up to almost $3 million a year in commissions? How did I make, what was it, a bit under $33 million in commissions in my 17-year sales career? You know what my secret was? I simply outlearned everybody else. That's it. Wasn't born with advanced. Were you born with advanced questioning skills out of your mother's womb? I know I wasn't. Were you born with advanced tonality out of your mother's womb? I wasn't. Were you born with advanced objection handling and prevention skills? I wasn't. I had to acquire those skills. I had to learn those skills. So if a kid who grew up in the middle of Missouri in a town of less than 800 people can acquire those skills, what does that mean for you? It means you can acquire the same skills right as well, okay? So what do you put in your mind? Okay, use your vehicles, university on wheels. In the last 22 years, because 17 years, I retired a year, then 4 years at some level. I've read or listened to 5 books a year, or 5 books a month, times 12 months a year. That's 60 books a year, times the past 22 years. Somebody did the math from the other day at a keynote. I think that was like 1,346 or 47 books. I don't read all 5. I typically will read 2 to 3 books a month, and then I listen. Now, I'd say actually now I probably only read 2 books a month, and then I listen to 3 sales books on audio while I'm driving around, okay? You do that, you're gonna make a lot of money. You did even half of that. If you read or listened to 2 books a month on sales for data influence, that's 24 a year times the next 10 years, that's 240. Think how much more money you make, especially if you're going through advanced training. What's your biggest expense in life? Your biggest expense is not having the right skills to make 350 to 400,000 plus every year in commissions in your industry. You just haven't acquired the right skills yet. So how many more years do you want to keep paying life a few 100,000 every year because you're still not willing to acquire the right skills? So if you want to start acquiring those skills, message me directly right now. If you're in the Facebook group, the Facebook business page, LinkedIn, my Facebook, message me directly right now. If you can't message me directly right now, post hashtag NEPQ, and either myself or someone on my team will message you back some different details about our advanced training courses. We don't just have one training course. We was like, how much does it cost? How much does it what cost? We have 27 different sales training programs. I think we actually might have more than that now. I just created 2 more in the last 2 months, industry-specific ones. So if you want to acquire those skills, message us directly right now, okay? Love you guys. I'm going to go ahead and end the live. I will go live twice next week on Tuesday and Wednesday, okay? I am going to be in Europe. Right now I'm leaving Marseille, France, here in South France. Just running out of the hotel right now, but I am going to be leaving early in the morning to Warsaw, Poland. I'll be there about 9 days before I get back to the office. A little bit R&R. I will go live twice next week. Thanks, everybody. Love you guys, and hope you enjoyed what I went over with you today. See you soon. Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're gonna help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.